actually happening here? Someone was questioning me, like I said yesterday, about Princess Diana's assassination, and they were going into all the detail of this. And I said, to see whether it was an accident or not. And I said, well, hold on a second. Don't let the complexity or the apparent complexity and all the diversions, was there a Fiat Uno, was there a flashing light, and all this stuff, hide basic truths. 17 traffic cameras were working every day that year, and every day since, except for the period of time between the car leaving the Ritz Hotel and what happened in the tunnel. At the very same period, as it's been established, the police frequencies in central Paris went down for the same period. Yeah. We don't have to go any further into detail to say, was it an accident? Clearly, look at it. There's an elephant in the living room here. That is taking coincidence to the level of ludicrousnly. So clearly, whatever happened to Diana, the authorities didn't want us to see it, and not only did they not want us to see it, they took steps before it happened to make sure that we wouldn't see it. Therefore, there was a plan to do something to that car. Yeah. We don't have to go any further to appreciate that it was no accident, and none of these things are. They're planned as part of a sequence of events to justify the imposition of the Orwellian state and to remove those who are a threat to that happening and a threat to the people who are doing it. And Princess Diana was a threat to the British royal family on a major scale by the time that she was killed, because of A, what she knew about them, and B, what she was prepared at that point to start revealing, because she clearly was.
Yeah. It's very interesting, and I agree totally. It's they always, they have it down. They can do whatever they want pretty much. It's their surveillance and it's their tapes, and they make the rules according to their own judgment. So absolutely.
Of course, Henry, we have a media, programs like this apart, the mainstream media, who could expose all this. We have journalists in their, hundreds of thousands, millions probably, all over the world, who are paid every day to tell the people what's actually happening. Yeah. The fact that they don't investigate beyond tiny tram lines which they work within is one of the key reasons why this truth of what's going on doesn't come out in the mainstream media. For instance, in my book, The Biggest Secret, I tell the story of what happened when I met a lady called Christine Fitzgerald, who was a close friend of Princess Diana for 9 years, and she told me the story, I quote it at length in the book, of how Princess Diana came running into a healing center one day in a terrible emotional state, shouting, "They killed him, they killed him, they killed him." And when she calmed down a little bit, she said that years before she'd been having a relationship, when the marriage with Charles broke down, with a man called Barry Manicky, who was her personal detective. Barry Manicky had been killed in an apparent motorcycle accident. And the reason that Diana was so upset that day is because she said that Prince Charles's private or senior detective had said to Diana, who was by this time having a relationship with a man called James Hewitt, the detective had said to her, if this relationship with Hewitt doesn't end, he'll end up like Barry Manicky, which was the confirmation that they'd actually killed her personal detective because of his relationship with Diana, which is why she was inconsolably upset. Yeah. Not only that, James Hewitt is quoted in national newspapers here as saying that he was called by people close to the British royal family who said to him, if you don't stop this relationship with Diana, you'll end up like Barry Manicky. And the senior detective, Charles, the senior detective, according to Diana, said to her, and you're not indispensable either. Add to that, years later, that her butler, Paul Burrell, produced a letter in which Diana had written to him saying that she feared that her husband, Prince Charles, was planning to kill her in a car accident.
Yes.
Put all these things together, and you have a major story linking all these connections that point that the British royal family are implicated in what happened to her. But where is it in the mainstream media? They don't go into anything, whether it's 9/11 or anything else, to the extent that they connect the dots. Because having been in the mainstream media myself years and years ago,
yes.
If you operate within the tram lines of acceptability, then you keep your job and you have a hassle-free life.
Yeah.
Once you start crossing into asking real questions, then suddenly, you're not flavor of the month at the newspaper or the television station anymore.
Exactly.
And this is how the whole system works. It rewards you for doing the system's bidding, and it then starts handing out the punishment and hassle if you start questioning the way the system works.
Yes, and now we have, as you say, to tie it back to all the reporters out there, now we have an amazing movement taking place on the internet about these topics and about these subjects, and as you know, they are very close, to internet censorship right now. There are so many stories coming up day after day now. And what's your take on this? Are they going to shut down the internet? What do you see?
Well, I was talking about this, funnily enough, Henrik, about 10, 15 years ago, when someone was asking me about the internet, and I've written about this in some of my books as well. The internet is a two-edged sword from the point of view of the manipulators, this network of secret societies and bloodlines that call themselves the Illuminati, the illuminated ones.
Yes.
They perversely believe they are. And one edge of the sword is that the internet makes surveillance of people very, very easy. Keeping a track of emails and also following where people surf on the web is a very, very easy way of getting a profile and also keeping an eye on people on a mass scale. However, the downside is that it has been a vehicle for the free flow of information, without which we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, because the internet has been such a wonderful means of communicating information that to people in large numbers that bypasses the mainstream media, which is just a no-go zone for anything worth hearing.
Yeah.
So the process was always going to be, and we're seeing it now, of keeping the good side of the internet from their point of view, the ability to keep tabs on people, while withdrawing as quickly as they can the downside, which is the free flow of information.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing now is greater and greater focus and greater efforts on shutting down that side. So I think that is the way they want it to go, for sure.
Yeah.
And they're now even, they're already talking about, for instance, having a two-tier internet, where getting to some websites will be much easier than getting to others because of the way that they'll change the system. In fact, I posted something on my website today. The official inventor of the internet is now saying that it would be, quote, a dark time for the internet if this happened, and it will, and it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's amazing, and if we should tie this back to 9/11 here, and I remember an article that you wrote. I don't know how long ago it was now. I guess 2 years, might be 3 years ago, about the deliberate destruction of America. And that article, as it is presented today, if one is to read it today, it reads as, you know, the most current events, because many of the things that you elaborated on in that article has simply come true, and I mean, the Americans and the British also, of course, are still in Iraq, and the drum is beating on Iran now. And
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think that they will go into Iran?
They want to take over a series of countries. How they take them over depends on what the circumstances are. For instance, they've now subdued Libya without a gun being fired, because Gaddafi has just basically put his hands up, and now, as a result of that, he's getting official recognition from the United States again. If you go quietly, it's like people in general. If you go quietly to the system, then the system will leave you alone because you're not a problem. It's if you don't go quietly, that's when they start focusing on you. So there's many people in the world, Henrik, who will think they live in a free country or in a free world. And the reason they think that is because no one ever seems to obviously tell them what they can and cannot do. But that's the illusion, because they never choose to do anything that's outside what is acceptable to the system.
Yeah.
It's when you start doing that you realize that you have no freedom. You know, it's like having a rat in a laboratory maze. While it takes the route through the maze that the scientist wants, the rat is absolutely free to do so. But once it goes down a channel that is not what the scientist wants, then the rat gets an unpleasant electrical shock. And it's a similar situation to what we're facing in the world today. And just taking that analogy a bit further, what happens in these experiments is that when the animal has been shocked enough times trying to go down certain routes, you can take the shock technology away and leave those channels open to go down, but the rats won't, because they've been programmed not to go down there, and just to follow the route that is acceptable to, in effect, the controllers, the scientists running the experiment.
Yeah.
And that is so symbolic, Henrik, of what's happening, where people take the least line of resistance and become subservient clones and automatons to the system. And we're being programmed to do that all the time, and that's why it's important that we refuse to do that and refuse to submit to the program and keep standing up for what we believe to be right.
Yeah.
In terms of the destruction of America, that is essential to the overall plan. See, if you know where these guys want to go and the techniques they're using to get us there, then you can start to read daily life in a way that is light years ahead of what you could before. Because this is not about prophecy. This is not about sitting in a darkened room and thinking, yes, I think this is going to happen. This is available with basic research into the agenda that's unfolding. And if you know the agenda, predicting the future in terms of themes, if not always detail, is very straightforward.
Yeah.
Where they want to take us